our invocation and our normally scheduled meeting that we have at 6 o'clock. So we want to give you the time to come up, go over everything right here and just kind of turn it over to you and just have a little bit of an open discussion right here with this. All right?
Hello everyone, good to see you again. I'm Elise Cormier. I'm a landscape architect with Smart Landscapes. I've been working with the City of Lafayette for, I don't know, since 2013, give or take. And so I'm here to talk about the completed design for the city park, which I think many of you have already seen, and that's shown on these display boards. And then really the conversation tonight is not so much what's in that design, because we've already seen the design, we all know what's in there. The conversation tonight is, what are we going to do about it? So I believe y'all have something that looks similar to this, which is talking about the next steps. How do we do purposeful next steps to form a board of directors as a possible next step, to help have a group of people who pay close attention to that city park, collect some funding to go with it, and then get that park built for the citizens of Lafayette and the rural areas, surrounding rural areas. So I'm going to walk you through a little presentation. I kept it fairly short so that we would have lots of time to discuss, because I know that's the important part of this presentation. Okay. And the other thing is, I will stay for a council meeting too, so at the end of council meeting, if people have more questions, I'm around for as long as I know the city wants to keep the lights on here. All right, so let's jump right in. Staying on this side. Am I blocking your view?
No, you're fine.
All right, so we had I just wanted to bring this slide up because I love this slide. It shows the intensive public process that got us to this point today. This is a community, a citizen design park. Everything that's in here is something the community said they wanted, and it's located in places that the community said they wanted it. So that's a really critical part. This isn't something that someone else or a design team came in and said, here's what we think is good for Lafayette. Lafayette and Chambers County chose this for itself. So that's what I think is so powerful about this design. So the process started, just as a quick review, in 2013 with a grant from the National Park Service that helped purchase the land. And then Auburn University was involved in helping to develop some of the design ideas, figure out what was possible in the land. We just completed this phase, well not just, in 2017 we completed the master plan, and that's what you see here. And that involved a tremendous amount of public outreach. We had an advisory team that contributed information, and we did a couple different public outreach sessions and interviews to collect feedback from the citizens of Lafayette and the surrounding rural areas. We had a nice informal groundbreaking with Mr. Green and Councilmember Ellis, and also with Charlene Story, who was part of the advisory team. And then phase 1 construction is already in the ground, looking good. People are enjoying it as far as I've heard. So here we are now. So now we've got this city park. The vision that the advisory team and the citizens of Lafayette put together is that it's for every neighborhood, every age, and every ability. It's a 52-acre park. The main features, I'll just walk through real quick, is there's a really large festival field, there's a smaller activity field, there's a sports area. There are lots of walking areas that connect both paved and natural surface, which is something that was really important. There's playgrounds, there's a community event center, splash pads up here, and then there's this gorgeous creek and natural area and an open air pavilion at this end. And also parking. This master plan also includes a cemetery expansion and distinct separation between the cemetery and the park area so that those two remain separate activities and energy levels. And then we broke the phasing down for the cost. It's about $6 million. And the cost is broken down into these different phases. So I kind of feel like tonight, unless y'all feel strongly otherwise, that how much it costs doesn't really matter tonight. Who's going to be on the team to put together the plan, the business plan, the fundraising plan, and who's going to be in it in the long run to carry this park to fruition is really the conversation tonight. And those people will find the funding. That may include council, that may include the mayor, it may include citizens. The board of directors is really the group that can help put together a solid financial plan, management plan, and maintenance plan for the park that combined with positions Lafayette really, really well to get grant funding and to get corporate sponsorships and whatever other kind of sponsorships and buy-in will be. So, I will jump forward. So when you build a park, something I heard a lot from the citizens of Lafayette during the master planning process is want to attract new families to Lafayette, want to keep this community vibrant, want to keep people who live here continuing to live here and raising their next generation of children and citizens in this area. So communities that invest in parks, and this is backed up by data from the National Recreation and Park Association, NRPA, is that there's economic development that comes along with new parks. Cities and towns that invest in new parks attract new families, they attract new businesses because those folks want quality of life for their employees and their kids. There's a lot of benefits to community health. Access to green space actually lowers people's inclination to crime. There's also a major fitness boost for just having access to a place to walk around and see some of your friends and family. And then it also has a benefit of offering something to do for the kids, giving them some productive activities, and we'll talk more about that later. This park is in Atlanta. This is a park that I had a hand in designing maybe 15 years ago now, and it was just a bare triangle of land and a bunch of streets. But adding in this lawn and this bike trail and this little seat wall and this buffer from traffic, and now it becomes this community gathering space. And they have festivals there all the time. They have a farmer's market. They have wellness activities. There's a community garden that's sprung up. So those parks can really make a big difference. So about National Recreation and Parks Association. This is part of the plan for success. And a lot of this information I'm telling you now is listed here. So NRPA is a national organization where you can get connected with resources to justify funding for a park, to understand the steps in developing a park, and to find other recreation professionals who can be part of the team and can make this park happen. I'm a member of NRPA, and there's also a certification process for people who are recreation professionals. So if you have, let's say you hire a park manager, do you hire someone who's just like, yeah, I'm pretty good at running parks, you should just trust me? Or do you hire someone who's been certified by NRPA, which is a national professional organization, and we know that they're good at it because they've been through a training course and they have the credentials to prove that. This is also where you can find people to inspect your playgrounds for safety. And that's great because you want the kids to be safe, and you also want to protect the city's investment, and you want to protect the city. So on any given day, someone is being positively affected through parks and recreation, whether they're taking a walk on a trail, or taking a fitness class at a community center, or getting a nutritious meal, or just reaping the benefits of clean air and water because of preserved open space. So parks can be really powerful things, even though they look like just a big open field of grass with a playground at the end. It can just, totally transform a community, or bring out the best in it, as would be the case in Lafayette. So membership provides access to publications and research, access to professionals, and also links to tips and resources and best management practices for taking care of a really big park. There is an Alabama chapter, and then the national chapter as well. I mean, the national organization as well. They have a conference every year. This year it's in Baltimore. Let me make sure I got that right. Yep. Right here it's in Baltimore. And the great thing about NRPA is they know that city budgets are what they are, and sometimes they can't send everyone who needs to know the information to the conference. So if you're a member of NRPA, you can go to the conference virtually. You can download any presentation you want and see it. So that kind of continuing education really expands the opportunity for understanding how to take care of the park and answering some of those questions that we all have. Okay. This part is the second half of your sheet here. So I want to go through the team. So you want to put together a top-notch team to build this park, to plan for success. Because a project of this size it's a long-term investment for the citizens. This is the kind of thing that could go on, for 100 years and just be this well-loved, beautiful place that becomes the heart and soul of Lafayette. We've seen that already with Courthouse Square and the recent renovations that happened in recent years. And those small adjustments breathe new life into that space, and that's a really important spot in Lafayette for community gathering, but also for legal and other matters. But beyond that, it's an important landmark that draws people to Lafayette. So the city park has that kind of longevity potential. The first step that I would recommend is doing this board of directors. The second step would be working with the board of directors to identify and hire a park manager. So they handle that process. The third step would be the park manager puts together their team of paid staff to manage the park. And then that paid staff and the park manager work with local folks who are interested in being part of a friends group who are volunteering. And so that's kind of the flow that can get you to a nice, well-managed park in a probably less chaotic way. There's lots of ways to do it, and some involve more chaos than others, but that's probably a less chaotic way to do it. People are involved, so there's always chaos, right? But this might be a smoother way to approach it. When we think about the board of directors, these are folks who may, be connected with the community in different ways. Hopefully, because this is a park for every age, every neighborhood, every ability, it's folks from different walks of life within Lafayette and the surrounding rural areas. But the goal of the board of directors, and maybe they meet consistently for a year, maybe they meet for 2 years, but they would, and you'd have rollover as time went on. So when we think about the lifespan of the park, you'd always have a board of directors. It would always be there taking care of that park. But you'd have different talent pools, roll through that park. So maybe someone serves for a 5-year term and then they leave. So you have different opinions coming and going. But in the beginning, the board of directors would be instrumental in developing that fundraising plan and that business plan. So we have this, we have the master plan, then the board of directors pulls together that fundraising plan. And that is a really powerful place to go and ask for money. That is an extremely powerful place that most communities do not have. Just having this is more than most communities have. So with that, I just think that would be unstoppable. The board of directors also would lead fundraising efforts. I think that's an important distinction because I think as elected officials of the city, you have so many important things to attend to, and the park is one of the many important things. You have citizens coming with all sorts of different needs, and those are all really, really important. And one thing about the park is it's a big capital investment, it's a long-term goal, and it takes a lot of committed attention. And I think that's something that this board of directors could work in concert with the city council and with the mayor, but also take the burden of, saying the council and mayor have to pay 100% attention to this. It shares that burden a little bit. And I think that helps everybody. Also, the board of directors can help build partnerships to support the park and can start working on that friends and volunteer group. The public outreach process that we did as part of developing the master plan helped start that friends and volunteer group. It helps start the board of directors. We already engaged people in talking about this, so the interest is already there. And then the board of directors finally would run the job search to identify and hire a park manager. So I'm going to stop there just a second to give you all a chance to scan this little list of people who might be good to have on the board of directors. That list includes folks from different walks of life who can contribute different expertise and different connections. So maybe someone who served on the advisory team committee for developing the master plan. So that's someone who has a history of understanding how the park design developed, and finding someone who can continue that knowledge on the board of directors. Someone who is a young person in Lafayette. We always want to get the young people jazzed up and give them leadership skills. And what better way to do that than give them on-the-job training on the board of directors, watching other adults lead and learning how to do that themselves. It also cuts down on vandalism if you have the youth involved, because they feel like they're part of it. A senior representative, someone who maybe part of the senior community, understands some of those needs, like the walking clubs, whatever else may be going on. Someone from the schools, this could be a teacher. It could also be like the track coach. It could be someone from the Board of Education. I think it's important to have someone who can speak to the programming that might go into the park. So if the schools want to use the park as an outdoor classroom, how would they do that? And so having someone from the schools, middle school to elementary school to high school, as part of that conversation can help make sure those programs are available for the kids and for the teachers. A library representative. Ms. Johnson has already been part of the initial conversations, and so I know she understands what's going on in the park, but she's really excited about taking the library camp kids out here in the summer. Someone from the business community, and this may be more than one person. That person might bring financial expertise, might be someone who really knows how to knock out an Excel spreadsheet. Like that would just be really great to have someone who was very solid in that and could be part of developing the plan. Also, business community tend to be connected to sponsorships. Someone from city maintenance and utilities, because maintenance is like the #1 thing that goes on with this park. We all have fun in a park, but maintaining that park is the #1 thing that happens in a park. So having someone who is already involved, such as Mr. Green, in maintenance within the city, and they can learn that expertise. Public safety officer, we spend a lot of time talking about public safety in developing the master plan. A park design professional, so that might be someone like myself who understands how the park goes together, and can speak to, if we're going to change things or move things around, is that connected to something else? Can people still walk everywhere they want to walk? Is it going to be too hot in the sun in this one location? That. And then government partners. For instance, someone from Chambers County Development Authority. Chambers County Extension Agency has already been really, really involved in this park with sponsoring things. So having someone from the Extension Agency, which also is connected to, grant funding and other things, could be very helpful as well. And then anyone else we think we could add to that list?
Banking,
Someone from banking?
as far as the business.
Yes. Yeah. Someone from the banking community would be great. So thoughts on that so far? I might still be turning it over. I do think that there's a good deal of federal funding available. I think state funding may be a little thin at this point in time, but I know that, and also the Chambers County Extension has already contributed quite a bit. They may wish to contribute more. It's always worth asking for a very specific way. But I think there are a lot of federal funding opportunities that could be, could be pursued as part of putting together the business plan and then submitting the master plan. Doing a very specific ask, like saying we want to build a festival field and the built-in amphitheater seating, and we want to be able to do that at times for the next Lafayette High School reunion or the next Lafayette Day. Oh, look, I made myself a whole slide and I talked through it off the handout. How about that? All right. Now, park manager. So the park manager's job would be specifically to oversee the park, its operations, its maintenance, its staffing. This would not be a person who also went over and took care of other things at the square downtown or at one of the other cemeteries. This would be a person just dedicated to making sure that park ran well. That's important because we're talking about a 52-acre long-term public amenity, and it's complicated. It's got a lot of stuff going on. And, people want to know that the trash is going to get emptied. They're going to want to know that there's a public safety officer walking around. They're going to want to know that when they rent a picnic shelter that someone's going to be there to take the reservation. Stuff like that, you need a dedicated person paying attention to it. So I think that person would also manage the park budget. They would oversee park programming, so that might be like if the schools wanted to do an outdoor classroom session, and let's say there's a track meet happening, and then people want to reserve some picnic pavilions for family events or that kind of thing. But it can also be like hosting temporary events. A lot of folks thought like a trampoline might be fun. There's these trampolines that you can rent and bring in and have them for a week or two. You can do an ice skating rink in the winter. You can do a roller skating rink in the spring. So these temporary kind of activities that the youth have said they really wanted to see in the park, those are the kind of things that can be managed by the park manager. Supervising recreation staff. And then also being a liaison to the mayor and the council and to the board of directors. So that person would know intimately what was going on with the park, and they would be responsible for reporting back and carrying your concerns back and forth. Here's some ideas of what the park programming could be like. Citywide festivals, community programs like walking clubs, healthy meals programs, school use. I think there's a lot of vocational hands-on training opportunities here. And then with seasonal events, we talked about the skate park and the trampoline play area. And then after that, we get down to the nuts and bolts of everyday activities. So we have the recreation staff. These would be paid staff. I would recommend these being paid staff. So that decision would go into the business plan and the fundraising plan that the board of directors puts together. And so we know those people would be committed to park maintenance, to repairing a bench if it got busted up, if trees fell in a storm, someone's going to go out there and take care of that pretty quickly. And that supports a positive public image of the park, because you know there's nothing worse than when the public starts being unhappy with something. And that's really important, that this is the public's park. The public needs to be happy with this. And the number one way to do that is to have dedicated staff paying attention to it. That's something that I think can be very easily accomplished with dedicated staff. The other thing is a Friends and Volunteers group. And so this Friends and Volunteers group might report to the park manager, they might report to, maybe there's an outreach person who's part of the recreation staff. And Friends and Volunteers groups are happiest when they have a specific thing that they can take ownership of in a park. And that specific thing is theirs, they manage it, they make it happen, they adapt it the way they need to, and it has a very specific and meaningful function within the park. I would say it would be a big mistake to try to run the park with a Friends and Volunteers group, because there's so many different decisions that have to happen, it's too many cooks in the kitchen, that kind of thing. But having a systematic plan for running the park, and then having a friends group that supplements that, and also lets people develop their own leadership skills, participate in their community, give back to their community, get out of their house during the day. Like, there's a lot of reasons why Friends and Volunteers group is a fabulous thing for the citizens and for the park. So, to sum up, the park is for every neighborhood, every ability, and every age. There's a dedicated hyperlink if you want to, a website if you want to share that with folks. This takes you, LaFetteCityPark.com takes you straight to the City of Lafette's website, where you can see all of the stuff that's shown on the boards behind me. And then that just makes it a little bit easier instead of saying, well, if you go to the city's website and then you click on this tab and you go over here, this way you can just say, just go to LaFetteCityPark.com. And that way you can share this idea with other people, or the board of directors if they're trying to invite people to participate as sponsors. They can say, go to LaFetteCityPark.com, and those folks can say, oh, it's a real thing. It's not just this dream that these people are talking about. It's actually a real organized thing. So in terms of benefits for park, it benefits of parks to a community that chooses to invest in the park. There's economic development potential. You have a potential for healthier families, and it gives young people a way to be active and grow and participate in a meaningful way in their community. I encourage the city to look into joining NRPA, the National Recreation and Parks Association, to connect with the recreation community, because this is a significant undertaking. And it's good to be connected to a whole community of experts and other small towns and large towns, all different sizes, just to share those resources and tips and be like, hey, we're trying to do this. I'm sure a million other people have done it too. Help us out. And then, of course, you'll have your own success stories, and you can get that written out in the NRPA magazine, and other people will call you and say, well, hey, how'd you do it? And you can say, oh, it's a piece of cake. Then planning for success. Doing the board of directors, followed by hiring a park manager. That park manager then brings on the recreation staff, and then you're ready to, at that point, obviously the park would be built, and you'd have volunteers ready to jump in and help out and participate. So that's the general overview of what I wanted to share with you. And I wanted to see if y'all had questions, thoughts, you had more ideas that you wanted from me about certain aspects of that. Anything you thought sounded feasible, you said, yeah, I want to find out more about that right now.
I want to make a comment.
Okay.
George, thanks.
Yes.
We've got some skilled workers that work for this city, and we've already had that shown with the playground equipment. And I've got a 5-year-old, 8-year-old that go over there as many times as we'll take them. And then there's a few more pieces of equipment, some adult equipment, some things like that that are going up. This is what I'm hearing. When you start talking about the cost, if you just throw out the number of the entire project, everybody freezes up.
Sure, yeah.
This is my vision, and I want it to be everybody's vision. We would love to the old saying, I'm telling my age, be rich and twitch your nose and have everything. But you're looking at a very large cost for a community event center. What a lot of people want right now, the school teachers want a place to take the kids to do an outdoor activity.
Yeah.
Our teens need the teen center and a hangout to go to that's a good place to go to. That open air pavilion over at Yankee Power. Numerous people want the walking trails or to buy it. We have been very blessed and we appreciate everything in Lafayette and what the vocation area and agriculture arena and everything's been done up there with the sheriff and all of them, and they've got walking trails and things like that. This is a natural setting.
Yeah, it's a different experience.
It's not about going and walking in a cemetery and you worry about people littering and leaving things. But if we can move forward on this picnics and the little festival area, the green area, and the walking trails, and the open air, the event center for the teens, and this city needs a track. It doesn't matter, we're not going to get involved in the future of consolidation and everything that's going to take place in this city and down the road. The city needs a track. We need a place that we can have events here, and they're going to be ours. So it's time that we do what we need to do. And like I said, I don't have it in my mind, but you could be talking $2 billion in this event center. I don't remember the original cost of that, the community center and all of that.
Yeah.
But if we do the things that we know that they want, and we can do in a shorter amount of time, the more things you get in there, the more people that you have coming, the more interest is going to grow and grow. And there's some corporate sponsors that are out there that have been waiting to see this. That they know exactly what they're getting for. I don't know how many times that I get called, and I don't want to take over this right here, but if you've ever gone to school at Auburn, if you've ever gone to school for University of Alabama, and Alabama State and Montgomery, and every other one, they got somebody calling every day, every month, and doing fundraisers and trying to get things for their schools to help that school grow. And this is a part of the board of directors, somebody to assist us and to help us, you know, with some of this and everything like that. But, you know, there's places that people are putting a brick down with their name on it, or a little picnic pavilion that's named after a family, or a walking trail. You know, as the price goes up, or something's bigger, or the bigger the name, we're going to want a little bigger donation. But we don't, at this point, I don't believe we care who the walking trail's named after. We want the walking trail.
Yeah.
Whoever steps up and wants to come forward, you know, with a larger donation, and like we would like for the County Board of Education to work with us for the track, different schools and systems and things like that, to work with us. But I just think that it's time that the city takes this step forward, you know, as the city. And we're going to ask everybody to be on board, but we're ready to move. That's strictly me. It's time to move some things. And later on at the meeting tonight, it's not the exact time, but we've got some council members here that I'm going to ask tonight at the meeting, what is your passion? What is your interest? And I don't want to say this, but it may be Council Member Williams right here that wants to work very close with the Unite, and we get that building up and going and get it finished. And it may be beautification downtown, that in the retail areas right here, and some of the guys may have that passion for the recreation that you had, and then someone on we can have more than one, but we want at least each council member working on a project in the city hall that's about to be built out, that George and them have come a long way with it and everything like that. And, sometimes we've been depending on a little bit of help. Well, and we try to be politically correct. So we want some jail help, and we don't get enough of it to move forward like we want to. Well, you know, if we're not gonna get it, then we've got to figure out a way to do it. You know, sometimes ourselves. George could already have a lot more cleaned up if we get timely help. And we know things are seasonal, but there are those that have said that they wanted to help, and I think it's time to ask them to get on board. What do you want to do? How do you want to do it? How do you want to be involved? Because there's a place for everybody.
Yeah.
With this, there's many places.
It's an excellent time. I forgot to mention back here with, here we are, this Greening Youth Foundation, when we talk about bringing in the young people and having people be committed to the park. Did I say this during my presentation? I feel like I'm so enthusiastic about this group, I probably just said it in my head a lot.
Say it to us again, because we need it more than once.
Okay. So Greening Youth Foundation is a nonprofit that works with getting high school and college and separate from education tracks at all, just young people engaged in outdoor careers and in leadership training and in job training. And Greening Youth Foundation focuses entirely on minority communities and minority youth. And so this is a group that helps put together a program for different towns or for a national park service to bring young people into a position where they can learn leadership skills and get paid to learn things that are job training professions, that are job training that leads to conservation professions or science professions, professions in park management and recreation management. So I have a lot of respect for this organization. Angelou Azilo is the director of it, and she's based in Atlanta, and she has actually reached out and been interested in partnering with LaFed. I don't want to overstate anyone's position in here, so I will say exploring a partnership is something that she's very open to. And I think that would be worth doing as part of an initial step that could really help bring in help to the park.
I have one quick question.
Yeah.
The paid staff right there, with the park this size, normally how many paid staffs are on board?
I don't have a good answer for that. My estimate would be you could probably do somewhere between 3 and 15. So that's a pretty broad number. I think 3 would be a really good number to start.
Well, I was looking at the point too where it would also bring jobs in the city,
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
those are
And long-term jobs too. I mean, and you could technically walk to work, which I think all of us kind of want in our lives. I love not commuting.
And I think that number could grow as we bring in more.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. And it could be,
as the park grows some.
and if there was an event happening, maybe there's on-call staff. You could say, seasonally we have these different events and we know we're going to need more people, and so you have people already trained up, maybe even from the volunteer group, but they get paid seasonally to help out in peak times. So. I think the park features that Mayor Mooney that you mentioned are that's the top 10 list of what people want out of the park. So people do technically have a community event center. I've heard a lot of people say the Alpha building works just fine. The community event center that is shown here is really nice. But on the other hand, would you rather have that or a walking trail? And walking trails are cost effective, and there's such a crowd pleaser. I mean, everybody loves that. Everybody wants the playground, which they already have, and it's very well maintained. And then the other features that you point out, having a big green space, like a big field where people can have large events. Those are all very straightforward things to build. And they are located in a part of the park where they can be developed separate from other things. So, you could do the cemetery expansion and then develop this festival field. And then even later put in this area and then later put in that. But, just adding in this, even without the community event center, you've got a fantastic resource for the community.
me ask you a question. That entrance, that festival entrance, is that right there by the cemetery?
Yes, yes. So the cemetery currently ends right here. And then this is an existing street, 4th Avenue. And so, yes, the cemetery expansion would be right there. One thing that I've worked
But
really.
you asked if it was an entrance to the park.
Right.
It's not an entrance to the park.
Okay.
It is actually.
What?
But I can explain further if you want.
Go ahead.
Can you explain?
Yeah, I wanted to.
Not the street that we originally talked about, that was taken out.
Oh, yeah, that one's taken out,
That's,
we changed
well,
that.
that was a concern of some that went through the cemetery.
That one came through the cemetery. So right now, the way this is designed, there's a gated entrance to the cemetery that comes right here. And so that gives a second exit. So the other cemetery entrance is up near Eastside Elementary. And the street that had been proposed to come through here is now gone. So that's completely gone.
Okay.
And then the edge of the cemetery is actually a hill.
Uh-huh.
And we're proposing very, majestic tree plantings along that whole edge with shrubs and a nice fence. And so you can't even really see easily between those two spaces. And so if you drove in or walked in on this side, you'd just be walking along. You might as well be walking along that wall. You wouldn't even pay any attention to the cemetery. So it keeps that space very dignified and quiet and visually separate. Because we heard very loud and clear from the Lafayette community that festival fields and cemeteries need to be separate.
Okay.
And so we've accomplished that with the design. I think the way that it's very hilly over there, extremely hilly, and I think that really helps separate those two spaces.
Okay.
Was that your concern?
That it was.
I'm kind of proud of how that looks. I spent a lot of effort on it.
And we don't want to jump ahead or anything like that, but let's just say there's a potential donor in that way here.
Yeah.
Get me on Highway 50. That you could come in off of Highway 50 off the bypass and come in also toward this track right here. Right there would be a totally separate entrance to get to the track. Of course, you can't come in from J.P. Powell.
Right.
But the one that owns that land might be willing to do just the right of way.
So we could potentially have 3 entrances.
You can come in from J.P. Powell. You could come in from the bypass and come in by the CD Electric shop by George's.
Yeah.
Would be the main ones.
Okay.
And that entrance to that might come off of the bypass would be very helpful for future land development along the bypass, because that entrance, depending on how it's placed, would protect the developable land and then set aside some of the wetlands or the stream corridors where you wouldn't put industry or housing anyway. And so that's kind of fits with good recreational planning anyway. You want to protect your stream corridors and people enjoy walking along a stream, and so you put your recreational entrance there. And then you save the high ground for putting in new businesses, which are going to be wildly attracted to Lafayette because of this gorgeous new park that you have. Y'all are a straight crowd tonight. You're not laughing at any of my jokes. I thought they were kind of good. So with the board of directors, any thoughts on any appetite for that? Does that sound like a way you want to investigate or consider further?
Just initial thoughts. I think the more diverse any group is, everybody brings something different to the table. Well, even their contacts or their background, and different individuals are able to reach different individuals. At the end of the day, it's, sometimes it's who you know and who you've worked for and who your contact might be, and it's time to reach as many of those as we can. Because there's going to be some money available. And there's going to be some corporate, there's going to be some local, there's going to be some businesses and things like that, that, a lot of times somebody wants to see their name on something.
Of course, yeah.
And that's forever, just like you said.
Yeah, it's a long-term investment. And I think the city park can also give back, so when some of those partnerships for funding are formed, like let's say The track is used by other agencies or other, let's say the school system, for instance. You know, maybe there's a way where you know, the city owns the track, but maybe part of the concessions go to fund the school system. You know, I'm just throwing out an idea, but the idea is that the city park, yes, it collects sponsorships, but how can the city park also be part of the larger engine for the whole community? And so when an event happens, can some of those proceeds go back to benefit the people who contributed to that park? And I'm not necessarily referring to private citizens or private corporations, but if you have partner agencies who've come in, why not let that park area benefit them as well? And that can be part of the partnership development that the board of directors puts together as their fundraising plan. So you have like these memorandums of use or understanding that help figure some of those details out.
So what would be your recommendation as to maybe how many, to begin with, the board of directors?
I think to get a good cross-section, you know, this list right here, I guess that's about 10 people. I always like to put an odd number on a board anyway, just, you know, voting purposes. So I would say you need a lot of people to start with. And I would say choose people who are good at what they do, but even if they're not the best person you know for that talent, choose people who get along well with others and are in it for the community. A lot of times people, you know, choose to be on boards for a lot of reasons. But this board will only work if people are on it because they want to see the park happen and they want to lift up what's that. And that has got to be the #1 criteria. Even if they're, you know, not as good as someone else, if they have that attitude, that'll bring success. Is that the end of our conversation?
Well, I think we're at a point right here, we have about a minute left. Thank you for coming. I know that, just leave it right here. You were asking earlier about moving things around, and we never know exactly how many we'll have at a council meeting, anything like that. But I'd just like to entertain a motion from the council to adjourn the work session. Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.